Welcome to this evening's meeting. I'd like to remind you that this meeting is being live streamed and archived. Please take a moment and check to make sure that all cell phones are turned off. Approval of agenda. Motion that the agenda for the regular board meeting of September 24th, 2019 be approved. Moved by Trustee Cosmerly, seconded by Trustee St. Jean. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Preliminary declarations of pecuniary interest. Presentations. This is a good one. This is one we all look forward to. This is about our summer programs for students, and did you want to say a few words, Director Blazek?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to, first of all, extend my gratitude and thanks to the number of staff who supported our summer school program. I think it should be noted that for most of our staff, they're working during their summer holidays. And so this is not part of their regular duties. And so I just want to make sure that everybody was aware of that. And so we're very appreciative of that. And also, sometimes it's not always that easy to get the staff in because of the fact that people want to be with their families. But we have an extremely dedicated staff, so I'm really pleased that we had the effort we had this year. And I will move it over to Judy, our Superintendent Noble, to speak to all of the great attributes of the program that happened over the course of this summer.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to share an overview of our summer programs with you tonight. Joining us tonight are Principal of Special Education Programs and Services, Colleen McDonald, Principal of Summer School Programs, Carrie Wilson, Dave St. Amour, Lori Lila Collins, and Ashley Conley, along with Program Consultant Richard Duffy, and Principal of Indigenous Education, Kathy Dokes. As you can see in your board report, our presentation tonight provides a report on 8 different summer programs, 3 special education programs, kindergarten camp, the elementary grade 1 to 5 program, the intermediate grade 6 to 8 program, the Indigenous program, and the secondary program. The number of reports makes this presentation lengthy, but student achievement is the core of our mandate. This is what we're all about, so tuck in and enjoy. At this point, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Principal of Special Education and Services, Colleen McDonald.
Thank you, Superintendent Noble. Okay. Our summer programs support the Rainbow District School Board's strategic directions, reaching minds and touching hearts. Our programs support students to reach their potential by providing engaging learning opportunities and by setting high expectations. Our programs also help us to build student resilience and to nurture their emotional well-being. Special Education offered 3 summer programs in July of 2019. A total of 20 students attended these programs. These programs provide a valuable service to our students who are not able to access other community summer programs due to the high level of support they require. Parents are very appreciative of our special education summer programs, which provide students with an opportunity to participate in a structured yet engaging setting with the level of staff support required. The summer program for students with autism is a partnership with the Children's Treatment Center. The staff plan and deliver a program focused on communication, social skills, fine and gross motor skill development. Students in the class are between the ages of 5 and 12 with a diagnosis of autism and who attend an intensive support program in one of our Rainbow schools. The staff included 1 teacher, an educational assistant, and an occupational therapist provided by the Children's Treatment Center. Students develop fine and gross motor skills, as you can see in the pictures, by engaging in Play-Doh activities, arts and crafts, and physical activity both in the gym and outdoors. They also work in small groups to enhance their social skills. The program was offered for 4 weeks in July, daily from 9 a.m. until noon. Activities again were based on student interest, but yet are focused on skill building, specifically, as I stated earlier, fine motor, gross motor, communication, and social skills. You can see a lot of happy faces in those pictures. The social emotional program gives students the opportunity to increase appropriate social skills through peer interaction, group activities, and excursions. This year we offered 2 programs, both at Jean Hansen Public School, and 12 students participated. Every day the 2 classes got together for a family breakfast. The students loved both the home-cooked meals and sitting down to eat together. A great way to start the day off on a positive note. The programs at Jean Hansen Public School ran daily from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m., and the students were drawn from our early intervention programs at Northeastern, Chelmsford, and Lansdowne Public Schools. The programs offered students the opportunity to continue to build on their social skills programming and self-regulation in a small group setting with a high level of staff support. The students were provided with many hands-on activities, engaging learning opportunities based on their interests. In this picture, students are building boats, one of the many hands-on activities they participated in that integrated math and language while encouraging following instructions, problem solving, and of course, perseverance, because we know building is not always easy. As you can see in the pictures on the screen, excursions and fun activities were an important component of our summer programs. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, our students went to the Gatchel Pool. They also enjoyed adventures at the splash pad and community walks. These activities provided our students with the opportunity to build their confidence in social situations that they may have found challenging in the past. Their other cooperative school activities included outdoor challenges and world drumming. The program focused on social thinking, teaching the students to share space, figure out social situations, and to develop social relationships through modeling and opportunities to practice in a supported setting. These are the skills that are critical to student well-being and in turn success at school and beyond. The high level of support and accommodations allow our students to try things they may have had difficulty with in the past. A few of these pictures are good examples of the accommodations that were offered to support students. So filtering out too much noise with earphones while participating in world drumming, a relaxation time in the Snoozlin room, and practicing calming breathing techniques in a small group. We are very proud of the work that our staff does in our summer programs to meet the various needs of our students who require a different approach. The students leave with a feeling of success and a higher level of skill and strategies that will support them to interact with more confidence in all social settings. And that concludes summer programs for special education. At this time, I would like to introduce Ashley Connolly, Principal of Kindergarten Summer Camp. Ashley is also the Vice Principal of Redwood Acres Public School.
Just before you leave, Colleen, were there any questions?
Rainbow schools. We wanted to support the children in transitioning from home to school and give children time to settle into their new learning environment. Through their experiences at the camp, children would be introduced to some of the staff and become familiar with typical routines. We know that this experience would help children become excited about learning and support them in developing new friendships. This year, kindergarten camp was offered in 23 rainbow schools with locations in Sudbury, Espanola, and Manitoulin Island. Kindergarten camp was led by qualified rainbow teachers. Where more than 16 children were enrolled, the program also included a designated early childhood educator. Throughout the morning, children engaged in many of the activities typically experienced in kindergarten. They had the opportunity to participate in literacy and numeracy activities and had large blocks of time to explore classrooms and to play. They engaged in outdoor activities and sometimes played cooperative games in the gym. The program also included a healthy snack each day. The next two slides will capture how parents we surveyed felt about kindergarten camp, the kindergarten camp experience. I'll give you a few moments to read what they had to say. We also asked our full-time kindergarten teachers what impact kindergarten camp had on the children who attended. Their observations are recorded on the next two slides. Clearly, kindergarten camp provided amazing benefits to our students. It successfully smoothed the transition from home to school and welcomed students and parents into the Rainbow family. This brings our presentation regarding kindergarten camp to a close. I'd now like to introduce Carrie Wilson. Carrie was the principal of Code Summer Learning Program and is the vice principal at Chelmsford Public School.
Thank you. The Code Summer Learning Program ran for its 9th year in Rainbow. In providing students the opportunity to attend the summer learning program, we had several overall aims. We hope to minimize summer learning loss by providing an extended school year and additional instruction for students. We provided support to students who may have required further development of basic literacy skills. We offered summer learning and recreation to students who might otherwise not have easy access to such. Staff worked to ensure that our program reflected the diversity of our learners, including providing an opportunity to infuse Indigenous resources and stories. Global competencies were developed through various STEAM activities, that's science, technology, engineering, art, and math. The program was funded through CODE, the Council of Ontario Directors of Education. This year, we hosted 6 classes across 3 sites, serving more than 113 students. We hosted programs at Chelmsford Public School, Lansdowne Public School, and Little Current Public School. Each classroom was staffed with a qualified teacher and at least one post-secondary student mentor who supported the learning in the classroom, with most classes having 2 mentors assigned. To align with our board's strategic directions, we focused our efforts on literacy comprehension while incorporating mathematical concepts into the recreation portion of the program through STEAM activities. Students received 3 hours of classroom instruction during the mornings, with the afternoons being devoted to recreational activities run by the site leads and our summer students. During these afternoon activities, teachers had an opportunity to work individually with students to remediate or practice specific skills. All programs had a nutritional component, so students received breakfast and snacks throughout the day. This year, we continued to provide busing across the system, with the goal being to remove transportation as a barrier for any student who might benefit from the program. In the primary grades, students are developing proficiency with learning to read. We focus specifically on the development of decoding skills, and teachers dug deeper to uncover learning gaps with phonetics. In the junior grades, there's a greater emphasis on reading to learn. The focus is on the development of reading comprehension skills. In our junior classes, students who were still struggling with decoding were able to access the grade-leveled materials through the use of technology. This program benefited 113 students in the development of their reading skills this summer. So here are our results. We had 91% of all students showing improvement in their reading as measured by the Fontes and Pinnell Benchmark Assessment System, otherwise known as BAS for short. 97% of our junior students demonstrated improved reading comprehension. 80% of our primary students improved by 1 or more reading levels as measured by BAS. And 100% of primary students, so that's that other 20%, who did not gain a full reading level as measured by BAS, demonstrated gains in sound symbols and or Dolch word lists. The recreation portion of the program took place daily for the last hour of the day. So the recreation block included physical activities and STEAM activities. And the STEAM activities included 3 areas of focus. There was coding and robotics, stop motion animation, and Rube Goldberg machine building. The goal was to engage students in hands-on activities that promote global competencies such as problem solving, collaboration, communication, and critical thinking while expanding their digital literacy skills. Canada Learning Code conducted staff training prior to the program and delivered 2 student workshops at each site. Wonder Robotics kits from last year were supplemented with challenge card sets that promoted coding skills with the Dash and Dot robots that were introduced in the Canada Learning Code workshops. Additionally, we worked with Science North, who presented workshops at all of our sites. Now you'll see depicted in the picture here, the top picture is the kids, they've got their plan for their Rube Goldberg machines and they're in the process of building their machines and everyone's quite actively engaged. Right here, I'm gonna show you an example of their coding. They coded their robots to launch their catapult in slow motion here. So they had to do the coding to get the robot to do that action. And this is an example of one of the stop motion animation creations by one of the students at the Chelmsford site. Parent involvement and communication were a key focus of the program. During the program, teachers communicated with parents daily through Seesaw, an online documentation and communication tool. Students brought home games, books, and accessed online reading materials to support their learning. A summer learning program Facebook page was updated daily. And a new initiative this year was to invite parents in each week to participate in 3 STEAM challenges with their child. This was an engaging and interactive way for parents to participate in the program with their children and support their learning. Family members were invited to celebrate the hard work of students in the program and to have lunch at the last day. More than 140 family members attended to celebrate the achievement of their children and to dialogue with program staff. iPads and Chromebooks were made available for students to share their Seesaw journals with their family members, which documented their progress throughout the program. 70 family members signed up, but this was an introduction for other family members that did not. Parents received a final report detailing their child's progress, which provided suggestions for skills that could be practiced to further reinforce learning. Each student's home school also received a copy of this report. Staff were provided with culturally relevant materials to incorporate into their teaching practice and worked to infuse Indigenous resources and stories during the day. The book The Water Walker, as shown here, by Joanne Robertson, was read to all students to share the importance of water. Some of the students' learning was reflected in a stop-motion creation, and I've got a link here to show you. And then it repeats. Anecdotal feedback from parents was overwhelmingly positive. Educator feedback regarding the narrowed focus, as well as learning resources purchased to support the program, was collected. Teacher feedback was very positive, indicating that a narrowed focus helped to meet students' needs. Teachers also piloted new shared reading resources, which support the benchmark assessment system used for reading assessment board-wide. This brings to a close our presentation of the Code Summer Learning Program. I'd like to introduce Richard Duffy, who led the grade 6 to 8 Summer Learning Program at Princess Anne Public School. Richard is a program consultant with the board.
Thank you, Principal Wilson. For a third year, Rainbow District School Board offered a summer learning program for students entering grades 7, 8, and 9. This year's program served 46 students from 14 elementary schools. This represents a 35% increase from last year and was the largest cohort to date. We had 15 grade 6 students and 31 grade 7-8 students in our 2019 SLP that ran at Princess Anne Public School again this year. This year's program blended academics, structured physical activity, and experiential learning to support students entering grades 7 to 9. Fresh fruit and vegetables were also provided each day to help students fuel up for learning. To better serve the needs of students and to align with board priorities, both the grade 6 and grade 7-8 programs this year contained literacy and numeracy components. To ensure equitable access, students were provided with busing from their home school to and from the program each day. In literacy, teachers provided one-on-one and small group intervention to address individual needs established using Fountas and Pinnell's benchmark assessment system, a reading assessment designed to measure a student's ability to decode, read fluently, and comprehend text. Each student in both the grade 6 program and the grade 7-8 program was also provided with access to Lexia Power Up for the entire summer. Lexia Power Up is a responsive computer-based reading intervention program that works on students' abilities to decode and comprehend text. Access to this program allowed the learning to continue beyond the hours and days of our 3-week summer program. Our numeracy program focused on student understanding of and proficiency with the 4 mathematical operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Strong operational sense is important to experiencing success in higher levels of mathematics. Like in our literacy program, diagnostic testing was used to identify needs. A balance of explicit lessons, investigations, and mental math was used to provide remediation in small groups and individual support was provided as needed. A summer license to Reflex Math was also purchased for each student so they could continue to learn and practice at home. Reflex Math is an intuitive, game-based program that allows students to work toward proficiency with operations at their own level.
Excuse me, Trustee Hunda?
It's not a question as much as if we went back one slide, I just, being a proud grandma, that little handsome guy in the blue right there is my Noah that you hear me talk about. This has never happened before, and I looked, I think it was Carrie said to me, Noah's going to be in the slides, and I'm going.
And he was an incredible addition to our program, he really was. He was so helpful to staff and his peers, incredible. I am absolutely being serious. Not at all. Our numeracy program focused on student understanding of and proficiency with, Based on the success of past years, we continued our commitment to promoting financial literacy. Through our Bank of SLP program, all students learned about creating and managing a personal budget. Each student was paid $100 every day to attend summer learning program. Students could earn extra money throughout the day through personal achievements, positive participation, and good citizenship. Out of their revenue, students were required to pay expenses such as supplies, Chromebooks, and iPads. Bank books were updated daily to track and balance revenues and expenses. At the end of the program, students had the opportunity to spend the money they had earned at our SLP store. The focus of experiential learning in week 1 was physical education and team building. Led by our university students who had experience in organizing and supervising these types of activities at Laurentian University, the week was filled with outdoor and indoor activities that promoted fitness, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. The focus of experiential learning for week 2 was cooking and nutrition and visual arts. Our university students led groups of students through cooking classes where they baked homemade blueberry muffins from scratch and worked to prepare healthy snacks for the next day. Other groups of students worked with Stacy Duhame, an artist in residence we were able to hire to share her expertise in applied visual arts with students. She worked with students who, under her guidance, produced interesting sculptures, paintings, and mixed media collages. The groups were rotated throughout the week so everyone had a chance to experience both the cooking and visual arts components of the program. The focus of experiential learning in week 3 was coding and robotics. Under the guidance of Rainbow's Computers and Education Coordinator, Carrie Martell, students learned about and practiced 21st century skills while participating in coding robotics challenges using Scratch, Spheros, Ozobots, and Makey-Makeys. We use technology to communicate daily with parents. Our Facebook page was updated daily, and teachers with input from students tweeted out about interesting and important classroom activities as they were happening. Feedback from students, staff, and parents about the program was extremely positive. As previously mentioned, diagnostic testing was administered at the beginning of the program, and similar tests were administered at the end of the program. Significant growth was noted. In our grade 6 program, all 15 students demonstrated improvement in numeracy fundamentals and reading comprehension. In our grade 7 and 8 program, 30 out of 31 students made measurable gains in numeracy, and 29 out of 31 demonstrated improved reading comprehension. Individual student reports with specific strengths and next steps were sent home to parents, and copies were forwarded to the student's home school. This brings to a close our discussion of our grades 6 to 8 summer learning program. I would like to now introduce Indigenous Education and Reconciliation Advisor, Nicole Nicholas Bayer to speak about Indigenous Summer School.
It's me instead. Kathy Dokis. Thank you, Consultant Duffy. Sorry to throw that curveball at you. Okay, so once again, this summer, Careers in Civics credits were offered to Indigenous and non-Indigenous students transitioning from grade 8 to grade 9, students going into grade 10, or grade 10 students who may not have yet obtained those credits. The courses were offered again this year in August, but also in July for the first time. At Manitoulin Secondary, the course was offered in July and August, but hosted an on-deck Omnicotting First Nation due to the renovations at the high school. Was offered in August at Espanola High School, and for the first time in Sudbury at Lively District Secondary School. Rainbow District School Board is very appreciative of a significant portion of the funding to run these courses or summer school sessions coming from Atikameksheng and Anishinaabeg and on-deck Omnicotting through the Anishinaabeg education system. Like last year, students had the opportunity to do much of their learning through first-hand experiences, including visits to many of the First Nation communities, provincial government facilities, as well as post-secondary institutions. Indigenous content, including Indigenous guest speakers, elders, and resource people, continued to be a priority for these courses. Rainbow District School Board also had the opportunity to partner with the University of Sudbury, where the students in the Espanola and Sudbury programs had the opportunity to participate in their cultural camp components for 3 days in July at the University of Sudbury. Students in both sessions of the Manitoulin camps in the Manitoulin camps each spent Saturdays in Chagwenda First Nation and Chaging First Nation for their cultural camps. And we thank both of those communities for their ongoing support of the Indigenous Summer School program. This year, there were 32 students in all 4 sections that participated, and all 32 students achieved both their careers and civics credits. There was a total of 3 days missed in all. So I have a video that I'd like to share, like I did last year, that kind of captures overall some of the learning that goes on in these programs in the summer. And once again, it is Manitoulin secondary students that put together the video again this year. And before I share that video, though, I would just like to draw your attention to the picture on the screen. And this was some of the students that participated in the Education Service Agreement signing and the launch of the Truth and Reconciliation Commitment to Action Plan that took place August 30th in Atikameksheng and Anishinaabeg. So students from the August, which was 3 of the 4 sessions, from the August summer school sessions had the opportunity to come and be part of that event. And I had visited each of their programs the week before to do some educating around what the Education Service Agreement was, as well as the Truth and Reconciliation Commitment to Action. So just to finish off my session, I will share with you this video that best highlights the program. Where do I click? Where is it? See it? that concludes the presentation on Indigenous Summer School. At this point, I'd like you to please welcome Dave Saintamore, Principal of ABLS Public School and Principal of Rainbow Secondary Summer Programs.
Thank you, Principal Wilkies. Right spot. As you can see, we continue with a number of initiatives from previous years in the Rainbow Secondary Summer School. Based on the success of previous years, this is our 6th year offering a summer Rainbow e-learning program. The Ontario Secondary School Literacy course offered through blended learning at Barrydown College, and 3-credit co-op. This year also saw the continuation of the elementary English and mathematics program. Consultant Richard Duffy has already talked about the success of this program at Princess Anne early in the presentation, and it has grown from 1 teacher for half a day 3 years ago to a full day program with over 9 staff members. We experienced some growth in enrollment this year with our secondary summer school program. There's continued growth in student participation and the number of students finishing summer programs over time since e-learning, blended learning, and expanded co-op opportunities were introduced. The continued growth could be attributed to more students taking advantage of summer co-op to meet the requirements of the specialist high skills major program they're enrolled in. It is important to note that the majority of students participating in Rainbow Summer programming are from the Rainbow Board. When we look at the breakdown of Rainbow students to students of other boards, you can see 86% of students participants are from the Rainbow schools. This is consistent with last year and an increase of 8% over 2 years. You may be surprised to note that for the first time in the last 3 years, the greatest number of summer student participants from outside the Rainbow Board are not coming from the Sudbury Catholic Board, but this year from the Near North District School Board. Our summer learning program made it easy for students from across the north to access Rainbow summer programs. Other boards having some moderate numbers of students participating include Algoma District, Bruce Grey Catholic, and Nipissing Parry Sound Catholic District School Boards. Of the 599.5 credits that were attempted and completed over the summer, you can see that 581.5 credits were earned, the 0.5 credits coming from the civics careers courses students were taking through e-learning. We had a 97% pass rate, which is an increase of 2% over last year. This high pass rate shows a commitment to the students and teachers gave to their programs over the summer. Our trends over time show that students have earned over 500 credits in each of the last 5 years of the expanded summer school programming. What you see on the screen is the last 3 years, but they've been earning over 500 for the last 5 years. Also, the average pass rate for the last 5 years is 97%. So all of the new additions to our summer programming are continuing to prove to be a match to student needs and interests and have resulted in significant student achievement. Our participation in face-to-face summer school, which is the traditional style of summer program run at Sudbury Secondary Adult Education, has had very positive results with a pass rate of 96%. There was only 1 student who failed to recover their credit this summer. Generally, the trends show that students are most likely to be attempting to recover credits in math, science, and English over the summer. The participation rates in face-to-face credit recovery are highest in our junior math and junior English courses. This was our 5th year running our very own Rainbow e-learning summer school. As you can see, our students experienced outstanding success with 147 credits granted and a 94% pass rate. The summer e-learning courses are all new credit courses, and the most requested course in the summer is English. E-learning provides students reach-ahead opportunities in both the college and university pathway, and provides opportunities for students to graduate on time if they're short a credit. It should be noted that we had a student who earned their diploma because of summer e-learning this year. Co-op credits taken in summer school are also all new credit courses. These credits represent reach-ahead opportunities for students in both the college and university pathways, as well as opportunities for students to graduate on time if they are short elective credits. There were 11 students this summer that earned diplomas because of summer co-op. In 2019, with 342 co-op credits were granted, and this represents a 59% increase in co-op credits earned by students compared to 6 summers ago in 2013 when the expanded summer co-op was first introduced. 99% of the students completed their co-op credits this summer, and this represents a 22% pass rate increase over the 6 years of summer school. We had 174 students participate in summer co-op in 2019 compared to 188 students last year and 126 students who participated in 2013. This year represents a 7% decrease in student participation over last year, but it is still a 38% increase in summer co-op participation over the last 6 years. This large increase can be attributed to a greater number of students looking to fulfill co-op components of their specialist high skills major program requirements. Of the students doing summer co-op, 63% of them continued co-op through August, and an additional 117 credits were granted. This indicates that students are taking advantage of the additional opportunity to earn credits throughout the summer. In addition, there were 5 students who earned their diploma because of the extra credit from continuing co-op into August. At this time, I would ask Lorianne Lau-Collins, Vice Principal of LaSalle Secondary School, who was the site lead at Berrydown College, to talk about the successes they experienced.
Good evening, thank you. At Berrydown College campus, we employed 3 teachers to deliver a summer program in math, English, and the Ontario Literacy course. Our students from the program experienced an 89% success rate. This summer, Berrydown College made a 12% gain in pass rates from previous years, which speaks to the strong commitment of students and staff, as well as the impact of the program. Some specific challenges for Berrydown students were traditionally in mathematics, and I'm pleased to say that this year we obtained an 80% pass rate in math. It should be noted that this reflects one student who did not obtain her math credit, as it was her intention to start a new math course with the goal of completing it this fall at Berrydown. One of the barriers we also overcame was transportation. At the Berrydown campus, we continued our partnership with the City of Greater Sudbury and Cambrian College to ensure all students were able to attend summer school program with the use of free bus tickets. Our students have traditionally been disengaged from school and have often had difficulty completing the summer courses in such a short time frame. We are very happy with the improved pass rates this year, as it speaks to their commitment to gain credits necessary to obtain their diploma. With our ongoing partnership with Cambrian College, we were able to offer a dual credit course called College Connections for students where we saw a 100% pass rate. Furthermore, this was our 5th year in offering the Ontario Literacy course, seen on the slide here as OLC. The enrollment in this course was up from last year, and these students also had a 100% success rate. Overall, 7 students obtained the necessary credits for their Ontario Secondary School Diploma this summer in the participation in the Berrydown Summer School program. Thank you.
Shorter, got to move down. Thank you, Ms. Lau-Collins. In disaggregating the success rates of particular subgroups of our participating population, you can see that all groups of students were very successful over the summer, at a rate of upwards of 90%. Interesting trends identify that 36% of summer participants were identified to be at risk by their home schools. 15% of our participants were First Nation, Métis, and Inuit students. 23% of our students were identified with special needs, and 62% of the participants were in grade 11 or 12. This last trend is very telling for us, as it shows the urgency of providing summer school opportunities for our senior students.
Excuse me,
Yep.
could you just, on that last slide,
You noticing the spec ed number?
I wondered if you could tell me what SSI and SBED.
SBED
Special
would be
ed.
special education, yeah, and SSI would be student success initiative. So those would be students who are identified as at risk by their home school. So we had 165 students who were deemed at risk, who were successful at a rate of almost 97% over the summer, as well as students with special education needs. We had 105 students who had a 100% success rate in obtaining their credits over the summer.
Thank you very much.
So as you can see, our Rainbow Secondary Summer programs are having the desired impact. We were able to graduate an additional 17 students as a result of new summer initiatives introduced. 4 students graduated because we offered courses through Barrydown College. 11 students graduated because we offered cooperative education, and 1 student graduated because we offered new credit courses through e-learning. In total, 121 students have been able to graduate through participation in summer school programs since 2013. The number of initiatives implemented and continued this summer have had a significant impact on student success and student credit accumulation. Part of the measure of success of this program and these new initiatives is the number of students that have been put back on track to graduate and deemed less at risk as a result of their participation. Thank you very much for supporting the growth and development of Rainbow Summer programs as we work to improve the opportunities for Rainbow students to experience success. It doesn't have to be just questions for me.
Yes, Trustee Morrison.
If I could, since you're standing there, Principal St. Amour, you'll get the first question. The co-op credits that were in Dave, were most of these paid co-op?
A good majority of them are paid co-op. Some of the students participated through the YMCA Youth Employment Jobs Program.
Okay.
And so we have a teacher that goes, and anybody that's interested in that program signs them up for summer co-op and make sure that they're earning credits at the same time. A lot of the co-op credits, especially for the junior or a lot of the SHISM requirement credits, were unpaid placements. But if a student has a summer job, it's a great opportunity to also earn a credit while they're making some money.
Thank you.
So if we have no other questions, I'd like to just take this opportunity on behalf of the trustees to thank everyone who spoke this evening to help us to understand exactly what's happening. But more importantly, we ask that you go back and say a very special thank you to the staff who come out on a daily basis and work with our students in order to help them to achieve success. Thank you very much. Report from the in-camera committee of a whole meeting of the board.
Motion that the report from the Labor Relations Committee of August 27, 2019 be approved.
Trustee Morrison.
I was going to move it, but I can make an introductory.
Moved by Trustee Morrison. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Seconded by Trustee Clement. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Old business, previous minutes. That the minutes of the regular board meeting held on Tuesday, August 27th, 2019 be approved. Moved by Trustee Hunda, seconded by Trustee Stringer. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Tenders and requests, none. Reports and recommendations in the Environmental Education Committee. And this is a report that we are certainly looking forward to. If you've had a TV or a radio or anything on in the last week or so, I'm sure we're looking forward to this. Sorry, Trustee Gibson?
Thank you, Chair Dewar. Just before we get started, I just wanted to ask a question or a point of order regarding, this is a report from the Environmental Education Committee, and it was not supplied with the notice of the meeting. Under our bylaws 4.4, whenever possible, copies of reports to be presented at any meeting of the board shall be included with the notice of such meeting. And 4.5, copies of reports to be presented at any meeting of the board which are sent subsequent to the sending of the notice of such meeting may be deferred until a future meeting of the board by recorded motion. So I just wanted to note that we've just received this as we sat down to the meeting. I'm more than happy to hear the report. I just wasn't sure when would be the time to table a motion to defer the motion that's subsequent to the report. So if I could just get some guidance on that.
So we don't have a motion on the floor. So I will recommend that we go ahead with the report.
Supplementary, if I may?
Yes?
Just so I was looking for some guidance, Chair Doer. So if I wanted to bring a motion to defer the motion that's not on the floor yet, I have to wait until you put it on the floor after the presentation? Is that what you're saying?
We need to wait and see if we have a motion. As of now, we have no motion on the floor. So once the motion is on the floor, then you can move to defer.
Perfect.
But you can't move to defer when there's no motion.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Thank you. Superintendent Noble.
The clock is ticking. Climate change is the defining issue of our time, and now, more than ever before, there is a need to take action. The United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Global Warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius report states that we have less than 12 years to avert the worst impacts of climate change. The report identifies cities and urban areas as one of 4 critical global systems that can accelerate change. Stemming the tide will require an unprecedented effort from all sectors of society, including education. Thank you for this opportunity this evening to provide a report card of sorts from the Rainbow District School Board Environmental Education Committee. We would be happy to take questions throughout. Specifically, we are here tonight to report on the following. What efforts have been made to reduce our carbon footprint and reduce greenhouse gas emissions? And what impact have we had? Secondly, what efforts have been made to engage staff and students in reducing their carbon footprint at school, at home, and in the community, and to increasing sustainable practices every day? And what impact have we had? Perhaps to begin to understand the impact of the efforts of the Environmental Education Committee, let's hear from students. Joining us tonight are Maeve and Daniela, climate change warriors at RLBD Public School. Welcome.
BD Barons are awesome climate change warriors all school round. Here is a snapshot of what we've accomplished. We no longer use single-use plastic forks, and our teachers take turns watching our reusable utensils.
We run a clothing drive for our community. We celebrate Pulses Day with a Costco-style bean sample table.
We go on regular nature walks, and we take part in Pitch in Canada by cleaning up our neighborhood in the spring.
We also recycle markers and batteries. We take part in Science Odyssey Week with a focus on the environment.
We challenge our fellow students to walk, bike, or roll to school. Eco team members count the cars in our parking lot to measure our success. We also have many green thumbs. Students have planted Monarch Milkweed Garden, a pumpkin patch, and over 100 trees with the Regreening Sudbury program. We also have planted vegetables for the Delky Dozy Community Garden.
We even coded educational games that teach younger students about recycling. We are particularly proud of our composting program. RLBD students from kindergarten to grade 6 started composting last spring. We are responsible for emptying green bins on a regular basis. We learned that the organic composting program is a way to divert food waste and non-recyclable paper waste from Sudbury's landfill, thus saving our landfill lifespan. Forming the habit to divert waste today will create adults for whom this practice is the norm and a culture in which waste diversion is maximized.
Composting at BD was put in place thanks to our participation in the Eco Schools program. Eco School certification normalizes environmental habits into the lives of the students and staff alike. It helps us all set the bar higher to lessen our footprint and create a sustainable future. Our goal this year at BD is to increase the percentage of families that compost in our community.
Thank you, BD Climate Change Warriors. As you can see, the Rainbow District School Board is committed to environmental education. Students across the board in our schools are making a difference to alter the trajectory of climate change. In addition to their work at schools, as you can see, our climate change warriors are committed to affecting change at home and in their communities. If we continue to examine the impact of the Environmental Education Committee, what does the report card look like for Rainbow District School Board as a responsible corporate citizen? Here to share a report card on energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions is Manager of Facilities, Natalie Mousseau.
So on this slide, we can see that we're depicting equivalent kilowatt hours, which make up all of our utilities, which would be the gas, electricity, oil, and propane that we use every year. We do see a downward trend overall over 5 years. We will see fluctuations along the way, predominantly due to the type of winters we experience, as well as compliance with the Ontario Building Code. Projects which we have focused on to reduce our energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions include upgrading lighting to LED lighting. We've had over 13,000 bulbs replaced. Replacing windows and exterior doors to increase air tightness to stop air leakage. Increasing our insulation and roof replacements. Installing high-efficiency air handling units. Automated building controls. We now have greater control of heating and ventilation by supplying heat or cool where most needed and applying night setbacks. We've upgraded internal boiler controls. We've installed high-efficiency boilers. And of course, the composting that was spoken of. All of these projects have shown overall reductions in greenhouse gas emissions over time in Rainbow schools. Composting has been a huge undertaking in Rainbow schools. Here's our report card on composting in elementary schools. The light green bars represent schools that are using the municipal composting program, and the dark green bars represent schools that are composting on school grounds. Here's our report card on composting in secondary schools. It is our goal to have all schools composting. At this point, it's my pleasure to introduce Susan Kett, principal at Barrydown College, here to share with you an update on the Eco Schools initiative in Rainbow schools.
Thank you, Ms. Mousseau. Good evening. What does our report card look like in regards to efforts that have been made to engage staff and students in reducing their carbon footprint at home and at school, and also increasing sustainable practices every day? For the third year in a row, Rainbow District School Board has been ranked in the top 10 districts for growth in Eco Schools certifications. This year, Rainbow ranked 4th in the province. Looking now at our board results for 2018-19, 3 schools achieved bronze standing, 15 schools achieved a silver standing, 7 schools achieved a gold standing, and 2 schools achieved a platinum standing for their work to reduce energy consumption, minimize waste, and to become environmental stewards. You can see here the 16% growth in EcoSchool's certifications over last year. So what does this mean in terms of a report card on environmental education in Rainbow schools? It means that 60% of our schools are working as environmental stewards, that 929 Rainbow students play a role on school eco teams, that 7 Rainbow schools are reporting a waste diversion rate of 30% and above, that 38% of Rainbow schools include eco-schools goals in their school improvement plans, and that last year, the most popular campaign focus for environmental stewardship in Rainbow schools was waste. How does becoming eco-schools certified help the environment? Well, over 12,000 trees were planted this year by certified eco-schools. Platinum eco-schools produce 57% less waste than non-certified schools. Over 50,000 student leaders actively supporting environmental action on eco teams in Ontario. What is the vision for Rainbow schools? To have every school an eco school, with individuals empowered to act as environmentally responsible citizens through the 6 pillars of Eco Schools Ontario: teamwork and leadership, energy conservation, waste minimization, school ground greening, curriculum, and environmental stewardship. Thank you.
So how can we do more in Rainbow schools if we truly have less than 12 years to avert the worst impacts of climate change? A United Nations Climate Action Summit was held in New York yesterday on September 23rd, 2019. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called on all leaders to come to New York with a concrete, realistic plan to enhance their nationally determined contributions by 2020, in line with reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 45% over the next decade to net zero emissions by 2050. So what is our action plan in the Rainbow District School Board? To provide the foundation to support students in the creation of a climate change action plan, the Environmental Education Committee asks trustees to consider the following recommendation: that the Rainbow District School Board declare a climate change emergency and create a climate change action plan, including having 100% of the Rainbow schools certified as eco-schools within 3 years, with each school committing to reducing its carbon footprint and increasing sustainable practices. How can we build a climate change action plan? By engaging every student. In support of this recommendation, we asked all schools to unplug for 1 hour on Thursday, September 26, 2019, with a lights out event that engages every student from kindergarten to grade 12 in a discussion about individual, classroom, and school level commitments that can be taken immediately to contribute to a climate change action plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Noble. Did we have any questions about the report before? Yes, Trustee Morrison.
Through you, Madam Chair. Superintendent Noble, just a couple of things. First of all, excellent report, details, and it's probably been a couple of years since we've had a report from the Environmental Committee. And just looking at this, I see that, and I used to be a member of it, but I haven't been in a couple of years, so I'm not as tapped into the work that's been going on. It's really quite impressive, the improvements and the initiatives that have already been taken in terms of eco-school certification. We've had multiple presentations before, particularly from student groups and their activities, whether that's doing again, the garbage cleanup stuff or the recycling efforts, and certainly lots more in composting, so I'm glad that that was mentioned as well. So thank you for those. But just wondering, in terms of process, why did the Environmental Committee, because I know we didn't have this on the agenda primarily because it wasn't, when we did agenda setting a week and a half ago, this wasn't ready. So why did the Environmental Committee feel it was important that this come to us tonight, this particular week?
So it came to our attention that Greta Thunberg was attending the United Nations Summit, and that she has had a focus on Fridays, climate strike action across the world, students striking, not attending school, lobbying for adults in this world to pay attention to the impacts of climate change. Here in Sudbury, we came across an advisory that there will be a rally on Thursday for students who also here in Sudbury are concerned about the environment. We have a mandate of education, and we would like to support our students as they attempt to make a difference in this world, one student at a time, trying to make a difference. Our way in the arena of education is through EcoSchools. EcoSchools is a program which engages our schools, every grade, every classroom, in the conversation about personal commitment, classroom level commitment, and school level commitment. And we felt the gains that we have made across our board are through EcoSchools. And so we decided that our mandate really needed to be having 100% of our schools become EcoSchools. And one of the things that came to the table was, how are we going to purvey this sense of urgency that is upon us? And so it came from the environmental education that if we ask the trustees to declare a climate emergency, as the city of Sudbury did last May, the city of Sudbury is known for worldwide sustainable practice. We are a role model in this world, and we want to let our students as well be role models on this topic. So we felt that if the trustees were able to commit to declaring a climate change emergency, that would bring about a state of urgency to all of our schools committing to become EcoSchools. And in that sense, our commitments would go deeper, and our students would be able to have opportunities to commit in every school on a personal level and at a classroom level.
Trustee Morrison, supplementary.
Just a very quick supplementary. Thank you for that explanation, Judy, because this looks like a significant commitment. So yes, I understand when tonight is the first night to see the report, it looks like, but a lot of these initiatives have been under development and we've been working on for a number of years. Even at a system level, I'm glad to see us actually have something on the floor at a board level to commit to. We have, because clearly we've been a board that has been embracing energy conservation methods, for example, reducing environmental carbon footprints for a while now. I mean, we know we're dealing still with aging infrastructure in terms of our buildings, and I hate to get back to some of the higher level stuff, because I really do believe in regards to the environment, change is going to occur one person at a time, one student at a time. But on a system level, before we even had this commitment in front of us, we've done things like the first schools that we've built in multiple generations are green schools. And in addition to the new builds, and there's only been 3 of those, the existing infrastructure of buildings were also modified, as been mentioned by Natalie, from everything from LED lights, the building control systems, the air exchange systems, the roof, the windows, all of that were to reduce our energy costs. So I'm glad to see something come to us that formalizes that vision and that commitment that I believe we've already made through a variety of decisions that have been made at the board table, but we've never truly enunciated a clear vision on a commitment to the environment. So I thank you for that. I know we have school and student involvement on that committee as well. So thank you again for your leadership in bringing a very comprehensive report to us, Judy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have another trustee who has a question, and Trustee Hunda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's not so much a question, it's just a bit supplementary to Superintendent Noble as the trustee representative on the committee. And I understand the question. However, we don't meet on a regular basis, and we did just meet a week ago. Is it? Time gets away on me. But, and all of this is developed in the last little while. It'll be a while again before we meet. I think echoing Trustee Morris and this board has been front and center on this for a very, very long time, which is why we are fourth in the province. We have done this for a long time. At the board level, we've made a commitment, and honestly, I can't say enough about the dedication of our staff, because this is who takes this on at a school level, and it is a big endeavor, and we talk a lot about that. We think that it's important, and our students are buying in more and more and more, and you could see the compassion in those that presented today. And I think from our perspective on the environmental committee was that we take, in respect to the hardworking community, student, certainly staff level on the committee, and our students that are, the young people that are standing up and yelling at us adults to do something, to show something, stop talking, do something. We decided because we are well ahead, that we would like to show the students that Rainbow would prefer that instead of taking a striking action necessarily, we will be doing something proactive in our schools to promote what we are talking about. And we also want to show them that as adults in charge of their education, that we hear them, and it is an emergency, and the timing is right now. And we apologize that this didn't get to you sooner, but I think that you understand, if you're reading any of the media, that this was the time, and this is a recommendation that came from the committee. And I would ask, on behalf of all our committed people and all of our students, that we listen and that we support this motion. Thank you.
Having said that, Trustee DeBozic.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. The environment has always been a topic close to my heart since I was a young girl, and a warrior similar to the warriors we listened to tonight. With that being said, I represent the province of Ontario First Nations at a national level on an environment committee with respect to matters such as these. And the issue of climate change and declarations of states of emergency, I'm not a stranger to. And with that being said, I understand that your meetings have not been regular or consistent, and I see that as an issue that I think the board should address to ensure that this topic garners the support and recognition that it needs. And with respect to the report itself, I feel that it focuses a lot on eco-schools, and the motion presented discusses a climate change action plan. And it primarily talks about the inclusion of having 100% Rainbow schools certified as eco-schools within 3 years. And that in itself looks like a short-term plan, but it likely isn't in terms of the infrastructure and all those related attributes, garnering the support locally within the Sudbury catchment area, Espanola, and Manitoulin Island districts. And I think it's very important that we support students in taking a lead role in this plan. But I'm concerned without seeing a framework of a climate change action plan with one sector being the Rainbow schools, I feel that the entire plan may lose sight. And if the board is going to talk about the declaration of the state of emergency, which of course I support. I feel that the communication with that respect is a bit lacking. I feel that we need to put more into it, into the plan itself, or have the trustees understand what that type of framework looks like, that it becomes a communal plan based on the leadership of our young people and that support behind it. I feel that it needs a bit of tweaking, and had I been provided a copy of this report, I could have sent a whole bunch of material that would probably be useful for Rainbow District School Board in terms of, information, initiatives, inclusive of challenging other places within our catchment area to do the same. And doing that by supporting our young people, our young warriors, in advocating that message where we stand behind them, lift them up, and allow them to carry on that torch. So I just feel it needs a bit more tweaking on the plan part, so that when that communique is released and this emergency is declared by Rainbow, that invokes a responsibility to other industry partners, small towns, municipalities, and First Nations, that when we talk about climate, it affects us all, no matter where we're from, no matter what walk of life we're from, no matter how old we are. And there's a sense of responsibility there, and that adds to the visioning exercise and building leadership with our young people. So I think as a board, we need to do a bit more work to have that appropriate communique out. It wouldn't take long, but just a bit of tweaking to support that message, so it doesn't get lost in just an eco school. And I'm grateful that it articulated, when our warriors were here, they articulated how their leadership and what they've chosen to do is actually spidering out directly into communities. And I think that's where we really need to support them and not lose sight of the overarching climate change piece on one eco school component, which of course is a huge piece. But again, once our students graduate out of these systems, they're going to continue on that message, and that's where the support, I think, is needed. So thank you.
Thank you. And we do not have, I want to stress that we do not have a motion on the floor yet. And before we do that, I would like to just mention a couple of things that came to mind. And that is the fact that if you go to the Rainbow District School Board website, we have a huge, in-depth discussion and initiatives on that site. What we're doing today is simply adding, or a suggestion that we add to what we've already done. For example, we have monthly environmental challenges that come from the Environmental Education Committee. In fact, I had downloaded, I think it's 6 pages of information that the Environmental Committee does. I believe it does meet on a regular basis, fairly regular. This whole initiative that has hit the newspapers has come up very suddenly, but we've got a fantastic, that's why we have 27 eco schools, and we have such a wonderful program, is because we've had a very active, for years, Environmental Education Committee, including initiatives that required us to get rid of plastic straws and water bottles. We were one of the first boards that said no water bottles allowed in our board building. So I just wanted to give you that little bit of background. But the website that Nicole has put is really an interesting website, and has a lot of information on what we've already started. But you're right, it's massive, it's huge, and it's so wonderful to see the young people leading. It really is. Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. I do have a list of concerns, one that I've already mentioned, which is the lack of notice for this report for the Environmental Committee. I'm looking for some clarity on the timelines. The Environmental Committee met on September 11th. This purports to be a report from the committee, yet it wasn't prepared until yesterday. So this was prepared outside of the committee, would be my first question.
So I was tasked by the committee to prepare a report.
Thank you. And then looking at the timeline, so you were tasked to prepare the report back on September 11th, and for whatever reason it wasn't done until yesterday, or whenever we got it today. And then the media coverage of the climate strikes is what spurred the motion, or did the motion come from the meeting? I'm confused.
The motion came, the idea of asking trustees to consider a motion like that came from the meeting.
Came from the meeting, but the urgency of doing it today is because of the media coverage of the climate strikes.
We had, the idea of the climate rally that's happening on the 26th came to the meeting. And we discussed, you know, what did that look like for Rainbow Schools? And we discussed the fact that our mandate is education. We're not to use our students as political pawns or lobbyists. Mm-hmm. For students who are passionate about that, they are free to go to the climate rally on Thursday. But for the rest of us, what does it look like in our schools if we were to truly think about a commitment?
So then, supplementary regarding the actual commitment in the motion. The motion is in two parts. The first part declaring the emergency. The second part looks very operational to me. It's committing principals to get certified. So I'm not sure where that meets the governance issue. We do already have the administrative procedure on environmental education, which in its very first line, its stated purpose is Rainbow District School Board provides environmental education to its students to foster lifelong respect for the environment and a sense of urgency for its stewardship. It goes on for 3 pages. So there's a lot of information that's covered in that procedure, which clearly points to it being operational. So you've got create a climate change action plan, which I guess would be a governance issue. But then you've already told us one of the things that has to go in it as a part of the motion. So I'm seeing a mixing of operational and
This is a recommendation. There. Please, would you refer to it as a recommendation, trustee?
Well, it's a motion
Gibson.
On the, sorry.
We haven't got a
you haven't
motion.
Presented it yet, okay. And just going back to the previous point of order about the governance bylaws, it actually talks about deferring the report, not deferring a motion as a result of that report. That was why I was bringing it up at the beginning before we even had the presentation. So what I'm seeing is there a rush here, and I think we're seeing that maybe that rush has led to some of these problems, as Trustee DeBasque was saying. So I'm not sure how we would get some clarity. I've seen emails, for example, from the director that refer to the Thursday event, that they're asking for the schools to unplug for now to support this recommendation, but this recommendation is only just coming before the board. So the timeline is not clear to me. And I understand the urgency of the 12 years, that is one of the models in the report. I did have a look at the report. It's 630 odd pages. I read the smaller policy summary of the report. That in itself was over 100 pages. And while the 12-year time frame is mentioned in the report, so are lots of other time frames. And so I just think it's a very simplistic summary of the report, and I feel like we're rushing, and I do agree that this is a very important issue, and I feel like we should take the time to get it right.
Thank you very much. Trustee Stringer, did you want to ask a question, or should we in fact call for the motion to be put on the board? Or would you like to ask a question first? Okay. Please.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Superintendent Noble. Really more a matter of clarification. As I recall, having been an educator in the 1980s and 90s, at that time they were called not eco schools but green schools. And I know that the volume of initiatives that have to be in place for a school to achieve that level are incredible. Like, I don't think people understand what it means to be a platinum level eco school, and maybe that's part of the problems we're having here is maybe lack of understanding, because it's not as simplistic as it looks on the paper.
Would you like a little
Could
bit
we
of...
have a little more information?
Ms. Cat?
Within Eco Schools Ontario, there are the 6 pillars that need to be addressed in order to receive certification. And in order to receive the standard of gold, you need to have 80% in all 6 categories. And points are earned through various teamwork initiatives, student curriculum pieces, bringing in guest speakers, student leadership to run sessions within the school. It's overarching and encompassing the entire school building. It involves parents, it involves custodial staff, teachers, students. So there is quite a lot that goes on. I can speak specifically to each of the pillars if you're having questions as to what that would entail.
Thank you. That's good.
Thank you very much. Trustee Morrison.
Another question, if I could, through you, Madam Chair, to Superintendent Noble. Judy, when I'm looking at the recommendation that is coming to us from the Environmental Education Committee, I actually am looking at the I'm seeing 3 sections here. I'm seeing the first is declaring the climate change emergency, which is similar to what many other public authorities, including the city, just did. Second was to create a climate change action plan. And that, to me, is a future commitment to develop that full-blown comprehensive plan that I'm hearing some concerns that weren't really presented as part of this package tonight because it hasn't been developed yet. What this motion does is commit us to creating one. And is that the case?
That is the case. And I heard Trustee Dabaski very clearly that the students are the leaders, and that is why step 1, from our perspective, was to engage them. It's pretty hard to establish a framework before you've even talked to the warriors or the students who are going to lead this initiative or the creation of this action plan. So that's why there is no framework developed yet,
right,
other than Eco Schools is a framework in itself. It creates a framework for participation in a whole school environmentally sustainable, focused on reducing energy and greenhouse gas emissions and waste and everything else. That itself is a framework, but that is from adults. And we want to start with the children, we want to start with the students, and we want to hear their voice, and that was why that was step 2.
Thank you. So, Madam Chair, so I see 3 parts then. So I see our commitment to declaration of a climate change emergency. I see the creation of a climate change action plan. And on that point, I'm glad to hear the answer, the clarification provided, because I would assume we're not only going to be involving students, we're going to be bringing in other partners, communities, municipalities, and for example, with Trustee Dabaski's background, I would hope that we would invite her to participate in the development of that action plan.
Part of the conversation at the last environmental education meeting was what community partners can we bring to the table. And I was really glad for your suggestion of our First Nations partner, because that didn't come up. So I'm really glad to hear that.
And then the third part then is, and that other commitment is something that has really been ongoing, and the eco school stuff is something that our schools are aware of, and many have been working towards formally and informally for a while. What kinds of supports are we going to be able to provide the other last third that are going to be trying to getting their eco-schools certification, Judy? Because some of them have already successfully got it or are working towards it. Some of this, they may be starting at a much more basic starting position. So what kind of supports are we going to put in place to help them get there?
So annually, we are provided with a budget to increase teacher training so that teachers can become advocates for becoming eco-schools. So as Ms. Kett was suggesting, what are these initiatives under each of those areas? What does teacher leadership require? How does the teacher engage the students in the leadership of each of these initiatives? How do you develop an eco team? What initiatives are you going to tackle under each area? And then there's the whole reporting piece, which is massive.
Sorry, I have Trustee Dubosky.
So just a question, based on that conversation and the declaration of a climate change emergency, are you suggesting that the board support the students of all Rainbow District school boards in making that declaration?
Yes.
I would think that would be more appropriate and have more of an impact if the support is from the board that, you know, a day of climate change emergency declaration is made by each school, both secondary and post-secondary, and done across our catchment area. I feel that that would have more of a impact rather than the board issuing this emergency and saying, okay, our young people will deal with this. I think supporting them initially in issuing that declaration would be in their best interests, and that way they feel that they are leading us, and which is what they should be doing, you know. So I would just wondering just if that's what you're asking for in this motion and if that's what that means.
We saw making this recommendation as role modeling for our students, as well as providing a catalyst for them to start. So showing our support, standing behind them, providing the foundation for their conversation and their planning. And I agree with you that that sounds like the way forward.
So I would like to read the motion on the agenda, and then a call for a mover and seconder, and then further discussion. Okay? We always discuss the motion once it's on the floor. Motion that Rainbow District School Board declare a climate change emergency and create a climate change action plan, including having 100% of Rainbow schools certified as eco-schools within 3 years, with each school committed to reducing its carbon footprint and increasing sustainable practices. Moved by Trustee Hunda, seconded by Trustee Morrison. Discussion. Trustee Cosmerly, and then Trustee Hunda.
Thank you. I have no problem with this motion or with the discussion happening today. We've had conversations about the environment over and over at the board. We've had presentations, so this is nothing new for us, and whether you call it a report from a committee or you call it a presentation, the end result is it's something that's being brought to the board. It's important enough for us to discuss and to come up with a position, and I would be in favor of what's being presented. Thank you.
Trustee Hunda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree. I think this has all been really great discussion, and I think this is exactly what we're looking for, and I'm hoping that this is impressing our young people. And I have no problem with it, and I think maybe we fail to put forward that this is the beginning of our action plan. But I also see, when I'm sitting back sometimes, and particularly around here today, that there seems almost like a hesitancy or a fear of a policy or a motion or a procedure or an action plan. Like, early on, I learned that these are living, breathing documents. These are things that can change and will change and need to change from time to time to time. And those of us that have been around for a while and have gone through many different, what's the word I'm looking for? We've gone through our policies many times and had to upgrade them. When they're created, you think you're going to, you've got everything covered, and then tomorrow something happens and you realize that wasn't covered, and that's why we have strategic planning and the policies come forward and changes are made. Just because we pass a motion doesn't mean that it's there like lead and will stay there forever. And as this plan unfolds and the ideas are wonderful, and I know that I'm excited to be on the committee, and I know the members well, and they'll be excited to hear that, you know, this is coming, then this would be added to the procedures, to the commitment, to the action plan as things grow. And then it would come up again. Like, there's no fear of putting a motion. I really believe, I mean, you all know that I work closely with the Student Senate. We talk a lot about that as well, with the environmental. I think that this is just a message to our students that we hear them, because that's what I'm hearing a lot right now, that they don't feel they're being listened to. So I will obviously be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Trustee Govro.
I'm in support of this motion because I know, especially like on our Student Senate, a big topic is the environmental and how we can change our ways to be more environmentally friendly, especially in our schools. So I think this is really like a good goal to have all our schools 100% eco-certified in 3 years, because like it's really important for like our generation coming up that we save our planet before it's too late.
Thank you very much. Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. I have a question for maybe the director or Superintendent Bazinet, as to how this would, well, first of all, I'd like some clarification on the part I brought up about the Eco Schools target being operational. And secondly, we already have an energy conservation and demand management plan, a 5-year plan, which is available on the board website, which talks about, while a board may have a 5-year energy management strategy, the board's ability to implement their strategy is dependent on the funding that is received from the province. So I was just looking for a comment from the director or the superintendent of business in terms of what we can actually realistically, like it's great to have an action plan and set goals, but realistically, are we not dependent on our sources of funding in order to achieve those goals?
Did you want to answer?
I'll answer part of it.
Okay.
So I guess the question is, in terms of, if I'm looking at it from a student perspective and a school's perspective, it is about looking for commitment from the board supporting their efforts in order to achieve a lower footprint, a carbon footprint. And so they're just reaching out to say, okay, do you mind if we set a goal, because we think it's very important, and we would hope that the trustees would support us in that effort. For us to get to 100% of a Rainbow School Eco School certification, I don't think this will be a huge issue for us, because our students are driving this, and it's their mandate, and we help them. We coach them in terms of whatever they require to make it happen. But I think over the last several years, the 27 schools, this has very much been a school-based or student-based initiative. This hasn't been top-down, this has been bottom-up. And I think it's time that we catch up with them and recognize their efforts and commit at this table what we're trying to do to encourage them to fulfill that mandate of 100% compliance. So I would encourage all of the trustees to take a good look at this and to realize that I don't see this whether it's a bronze, silver, or platinum. It doesn't matter. If we're reducing our footprint at any one of our schools by a portion, is still better than doing nothing, right? So, I mean, we want to encourage it. So I would encourage all of us to make sure that we think of that effort as opposed to getting stuck into the operational sides of things, because that'll bog us down, and I don't think that's the intent when we're talking about operationalization of plans. And I take your point well from Trustee Gibson's perspective, that is there some other big picture things that we need to be addressing? Absolutely. But we have to work with facilities, we have to work with meets, we have to work with capital and the ministry in order to make those things happen. But we can do our own part in terms of working with kids to reduce our footprint right now. We don't have to wait.
Thank you very much. Trustee DeBoski. I knew I had one more.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. I guess this is for the mover and seconder to consider a friendly amendment to the motion to include that Rainbow District School Board establish a date for environmental and climate change action, like to declare a day within the school board system that reoccurs every year, potentially in October, which is, you know, a month thereafter when students return from school, so that it never loses sight, and it to be a recurring date. And further, that on this date, that's when the schools shall declare that state of emergency, led by the students.
Sorry. We really need words. You know, it's wonderful to recommend a change, but it's very difficult to try to capture, for somebody else to try to capture the words. If you could possibly put something down on paper to say, you know, amendments that, and then what is it you want on that motion? So I'm just asking for the words. Superintendent Noble.
I'm wondering if there can be two motions.
Maybe that we need a second motion.
I truly believe
that
the students are looking to the adults for commitment. And I still believe that this stands. And I completely understand what Trustee DeBoski is saying, that this isn't just us, the adults, that the students have to make the same commitment. And I'm just wondering if a second motion might be in order.
Would you like to try to jot something down for a second motion?
Yeah, it's just to support that environment and climate change.
If you could put the words.
Okay.
I understand, but like I said, I really need help with the words. Is this, Margaret, are you talking about the main motion that we have here? I'd like to talk about the main motion.
Yes, still, it's just clarification.
Margaret, Trustee Stringer.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Superintendent Noble, could you speak to what we do annually? We have environmental days each year, our Earth Day. There's that our students in the system I know see as their annual Earth Day event. So will this be something we are adding to that? I guess.
This could become the challenge for Earth Day. Mm-hmm. This could be one of the challenges that we send out. Nicole has included in our annual report our guide for parents. Our guide for parents, inside that document, you can see each month what the monthly environmental challenge is, and you will see that there are things like Earth Day, typically that's April. That's pretty far away. So I don't know, other Director Blazik, if you can find that page. Oh, do you?
Have them here. September is Pollution Free Week. October, World Food Day. November, World Paper Free Day. December, Healing and Wellness. January, Pulses Day. February, International Polar Bear Day. March, International Day of Forests. April is Earth Day. May is Endangered Species Day. June is World Oceans Day. So we don't have just one day a year. We have one day a month.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And if people wonder, why are we talking about polar bears? The relevance is climate change. That's why we're talking about polar bears.
Yes, of course. So Trustee Morrison?
Just one quick, again, I've appreciated this conversation, but some of it I think is turning into a working conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering again, and this is respectful of the different, of concerns that have been brought forward tonight. I think some of the discussion, including Trustee Dabowski, your last comments, and the motion that you're trying to work towards, I actually see that becoming part of the action plan. That's where I see that reference going. So I'm not sure we need a motion. I think we can deal with this motion as we have it now. And I think dealing with those items, I'm looking for a commitment to include those things in our action plan, which is going to be under development. And I've also made a suggestion, just as one trustee around the table, that Trustee Dabowski be included in the development of that action plan, given her background. Thank you.
We could also look at a commitment to bring this topic up at strategic planning, where we can kind of work on it a bit more, and if something comes out of strategic planning, to bring to the board, you know. So,
Madam Chair?
Trustee Morrison.
I was just trying to stay within the parameters of the motion that's on the floor. And what we've got on the floor right now, if passed, it says we're declaring an emergency and we're going to create a climate action plan. And a lot of these efforts and initiatives would be, to me, part of the action plan. I don't want to create a duplicate work process.
Right.
We're already committing to create a working group, which is our environmental committee, that are going to play the lead on this to bring together an action plan.
Good.
So, thank you.
Trustee St. Jean.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. I am of a similar mindset where I do feel that it's a little rushed, but I do completely understand the rationale behind presenting this to us in a short period of time. There is an urgent need to address a very significant issue, and listening to the students in our schools and recognizing the hard work that they're doing. I appreciate the way that the motion is brought to us today, and I think having the conversation for further clarification and breaking it down, I really look forward to, if not actively participating, but ongoing review and input into an action plan that becomes very robust and really does provide us with direct content from our student body and the teachers and the community partners. I don't have a concern with this particular motion. I do agree with Trustee Morrison that the idea of the second motion that's been brought forward, I view more as an actual piece of content in the action plan rather than a second motion.
And I thank you for that input and clarification. I would like to call okay, Trustee Stringer.
So I assume we're going to call the motion and there'll be a vote. Could we have a recorded vote?
A poll vote, yes.
Thank you, a poll vote.
Thank you. I would like to call.
I'm sorry.
Trustee Morrison.
One last quick one, because again, this is new for all of us. That's why you're getting a lot of conversation tonight. Creating a climate action plan. So I don't want to assume, so I want to ask the question on record. That means that the resulting climate action plan will come to the board for approval?
The Environmental Education Committee only makes recommendations. So, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Trustee Gibson, and then I am going to call the motion.
Thank you, Chair Dewar.
I just want to clarify, similar to what Trustee Morrison was just asking. So it says that the school board will create the climate action plan, but you're saying it will be the actual environmental committee that will create it and then bring it to us for approval? Because create implies that we would all have some part in creating it, and if you're not on the committee, then you would not have an opportunity to add or...
So here's how we imagined what was happening. So that we would begin the conversation with the students in the schools, every student, no matter how old they were. And then what each classroom committed to build a school plan, and they would share that with the Environmental Education Committee. So it started with the student voice, and it became the classroom voice, and it became the school voice. And from there, we could look at what were the trends where the students felt that we needed to take action, and that would be the foundation for the beginnings, that framework, as Trustee Dubosky was suggesting, of a plan. So that was our initial thinking.
Call the question. Director Blazik.
Trustee Clement? Trustee Dubosky? Trustee Dewar?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
Abstain.
Trustee Hunda? Trustee Cosmerly? Trustee Morrison? Trustee St. Jean? Trustee Stringer? Trustee Govro? It's carried.
Thank you very much. The motion is carried. New business. Motion that the board approve the attendance of the following trustees at the CEC 63rd Annual Special Education Conference in Toronto, November 29th to 30th. Who do we have that would like to go? Trustee Stringer, Trustee Cosmerly, Trustee Dubosky, and Trustee St. Jean. Moved by Trustee Morrison, seconded by Trustee Hunda. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The Ontario motion, the Ontario Trustees Students Association motion that the board approve the attendance of Student Trustee Govro at the OSTA Fall General Meeting, October 17th to 20th in Toronto. Moved by Trustee Hunda, seconded by Trustee Cosmerly. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. OSTA fees, motion that the 2019-2020 membership fees in the Ontario Student Trustees Association be approved. Moved by Trustee Dubosky, seconded by Trustee St. Jean. Did we have something in the background? Okay, in the backup. Good. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Requests for leave of absence, there are none. Director's remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, a number of things, but first I just wanted to remind everybody, it seemed like such a long time ago, but on August 30th, we did have 10 First Nations representing the communities that have education service agreements with Rainbow, met with board staff and board members at Whitefish First Nations, and signed off on 3-year education service agreements. And at the same time, we also introduced our commitment to action as it relates to the Truth and Reconciliation Report. We were honored to have several guests speaking at the signing, and in attendance were chiefs, elders, former First Nation trustee Grace Fox, along with many First Nation students and many principals and RDSB staff and board members, and we truly appreciated that. Special mention should be noted as trustee Linda DeBoski took on 2 roles at this event, one as chief of Jiging and the other as trustee. So it was a rather unique situation. So a special thanks to trustee DeBoski for her very warm words and support and her encouragement. And I also want to give a special thank you to Tikamiching and Anishinaabe for hosting and providing such a wonderful venue for the signing of the ESA. A smudge, a feast, many speeches, acknowledgements were truly highlighted, and their significance was not lost. Special thanks to System Principal Kathy Dokis and her staff for ensuring the ceremony was a huge success. We will be sharing more details as they are related to this event, as at our Strategic Planning Committee meeting in the very near future. So thank you all, and miigwech. This week, Public Health, Sudbury and District posted their immunization rates for its jurisdiction. And I bring it to your attention because we're part of that system, of course. So 2 areas of note were included in the immunization rates for the diphtheria, tetanus, and polio, so known as DTP, and of course the MMR, which is measles, mumps, and rubella. So for the former, our schools range, and this is compliance, between 79.4% and 98.6%. Okay? The latter, which is the MNR, range from 82% to 100%. Now, I want you to note that many parents may opt out based on an exemption for religious reasons. Okay? Our highest exemption rate was 17.6%, and it was noted as religious accommodations. So that's something that should be noting. Overall, though, the immunization rate for schools in this jurisdiction was 92% for the DPT and 97% for MMR. So they're quite high. So we're quite pleased about that. And the reason why we're bringing this out, because there was an inquiry from one of the newspapers, national newspapers, about rates, immunization rates. So they had to post it, and so I'm bringing it to you so you're aware of it as well. And those are the only 2 that they're commenting on. And so that's the gist of it. So I do have the individual scores for schools, but I think it's fair to say that we did very well in terms of making sure that our kids have been inoculated and that we're in a good spot. The other thing you should be aware of is the Ministry of Education has announced a new procurement threshold. And this is kind of on the heels of our audit committee meeting yesterday. So we just got this this morning. And so they're increasing that threshold from $25,000 to $100,000. So many of you may ask, well, what does that mean? So I'm going to ask Superintendent Bazinet to elaborate.
Thank you, Director Blazik. Essentially, last spring, the ministry, as part of the new government's platform of Open for Business, had launched a website, and it's entitled Doing Business with the Ontario Government. And part of that website brings in the broader public sector. So therefore, it applies to all school boards, universities, colleges, hospitals, children's aid societies, and a few others. And essentially, the government's goal is to centralize Ontario public service and broader public sector service purchasing and supply chain procurement processes. So the initial directive had a threshold of $25,000, and what they were asking school boards is to advise the ministry whenever there was a planned purchase of $25,000 or more, so that they could gather information. So it was strictly, at this point, an information gathering process to capture information as to what are the procurement processes within school boards. What was excluded was purchases and procurements related to construction or major renovations. So the tenders that you typically see that are brought to the board were excluded, but they are of a public document, therefore they're available to all. So the recent change is that I think the government, through a bit of a feedback process within the Ministry of Education and the school board sector, realized that they were getting inundated with information that wasn't really the scope of what they were looking for at this point in time. So therefore, they have increased that threshold to $100,000 or more. So an example would be if we had a planned purchase within our information services department for computers or laptops or iPads that exceeded the 100,000 threshold now, we fill in a form and we advise the ministry of this planned purchase. They are not passing judgment or authorizing purchase. They're simply looking to gather information. So that is the most recent update to what is termed the centralized procurement directive from the provincial government.
Trustee Cosmerly.
Just one question. Is capital still excluded from that?
Yes, there's no change to the capital portion. It is excluded.
Thank you, Superintendent Bazinet. Another note that you maybe you are aware of it, maybe you're not, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Just recently, the Ministry of Education has released information about REAs. So REAs stand for Reciprocal Education Approach, and this is really about the reciprocal education agreements with our First Nations communities and the public boards. Now, so the ministry has put this on its website. Now, it needs to be read very carefully, okay, so because it could be misinterpreted. But in a nutshell, it's really saying that if a child lives on a First Nation, on a reserve, and they want to attend a public school in their area, they must receive permission from the band. So they have to have written permission, okay? So that's still very much a part of the reciprocal agreements. Without that confirmation, that written agreement, there is no agreement. Okay? The second part to that, though, is if a child attending a public school lives off reserve and wants to attend a band school, they must first register with their public school, but then they are able to go to the band school. Okay, so that way there's a record that child was a public school supporter at one point. So those are the two caveats for this. Now, it's a little more complicated than that, but if that's what you could take away, that would be a good start. The problem is when we don't agree, okay, if we don't sign things. And what I've told my staff is that we need to take care of the child first, okay? And we'll do the mudslinging and the fighting with the provincial governments. We'll do that stuff, but we need to take care of the children. So that means we have to educate them, whatever that looks like. So there may be some conversations about that. This affects so few of our students. So I don't think it's to be a big issue. But if you're a parent of a child wanting to do one of these and it doesn't come as you would like it to be, it is a big issue. Okay, so I don't want to diminish that either. So it's just that you're aware of that. So they do have there's some information there, but there are some shalls and some musts in here that you have to abide by. So just wanted to make that clear. And I'm sure there'll be more to come. In fact, I saw a memo just coming out today looking for more clarification. So I'll probably be coming back with more in a strategic planning meeting. That'll be coming up shortly as it relates to this. Also, I wanted to allude to, as I think it was a strategic planning, maybe it was the August meeting. We talked about the primary class size and the collective agreements in terms of the compliance measures that we would be following as it relates to the enrollment. So this is the week. And so this is the week that creates a little bit of change. So I'm going to ask Superintendent Bruce Bridgette to elaborate on some of the challenges or some of the success that will be, when I say success, that means we're going to be adding staff to some of our schools as a result of enrollment increases. So maybe Bruce, if you could take that on, please.
Well, I'll be happy to start. In the last year's presentation, we did outline some of the changes in the requirements that we face in terms of making sure our schools are staffed properly, and kindergarten class sizes, primary class sizes, junior intermediate board-wide averages, and that presentation was given previously to trustees. And then the work now becomes to actually make that take place and fall into action, as we were very fortunate to be up about 200 elementary students. And so that's first. We're going to speak to that. Secondary, we can give an update at a later date, but we've been hard at work to do this, and I'd ask that Manager of Human Resources, Tiffany Hayes, provide us a bit of a summary of what's happening this week with staffing.
Hi, good evening. As Director Blazik said, this is a very busy and important week for us. It is a reorg week, specifically tomorrow being our reorg day. So as we start to do the staffing process in April, we look at predicted enrollment, what we think how many students we're going to have. And as school starts in September, is that opportunity for us to take a look at what are our ministry requirements for class sizes, and also what are our needs of some of the students that we're supporting. So this week being the week that there will be shuffles, as Superintendent Bourget mentioned, we are up over 200 students from predicted. So that is huge for us. In addition to that, class caps have remained the same as the ministry had reported earlier in the spring. So when we're looking at how many additional staff we've actually placed an additional 13 teachers in the elementary panel. And with the 13 teachers that were placed, it was amongst 9 schools. So that's a great success for us for making sure we're meeting our ministry requirements for those class caps, because we do have to report that to the ministry to ensure we receive funding. In addition to that, we have, of course, recall notices and all of the requirements that are required under the collective agreement in that instance. So there is a bit of a shuffle because we may have teachers that had a partial recall, and as we increase the complement, it then caused a bit of a domino effect because they may have been in a half-time position, now being recalled to a full-time permanent, and also the domino of an LTO. So just a heads up in case you're getting any phone calls from parents, because I too, being a parent of 2 children in elementary panel, I'm always wondering who are you ending up with at the end of the year. But just know that this is the date, we've set everything up. It should be a smooth transition, but again, we'll still have a couple of dominoes that will occur with the LTOs that we're replacing as a result of the movement.
Could I ask a question? Are you saying today? No, this Friday is the date, or?
Tomorrow is the day.
Tomorrow.
So it's day 1 of our 5-day cycle. So it's a day that we pick, so everyone has an opportunity to start fresh on that day 1, so no one's losing any prep or anything, any obligations under the collective agreement.
Thank you. Thank you. Trustee Gibson?
Thank you, Chair Dewar. So, Ms. Hayes, a question for you, if I may. So looking at last year's budget, we had a reduction of 5 elementary teachers at that time. So what you're telling me is we're adding 13 back, so we're actually looking at an increase?
Yes.
Of teachers in our elementary panel, and the secondary figures are still to come.
So I'm just to clarify, the budget that you're looking at was for last year's 18-19 budget or the proposed budget?
The proposed budget.
Okay.
Had a reduction of 5 is what I'm seeing here for
on the elementary.
Yeah.
And that would have been based on those predicted numbers.
Exactly. So what's happened is we've actually gained back that 5 and we've got another 8, yes?
Correct. I'm going to, look at Superintendent Bazinet. Sorry, that's... Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
That's his budget number, so yes.
Yeah.
Trustee Hunda.
Just a quick statement. I mean, my takeaway here is we've got, what was it, over 200 new students. I'm leaving the table a happy trustee tonight. That's great news.
Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. And can I just get some clarification on that number? Was that 200 more than we expected, or an actual increase of 200?
200 over predicted.
Over predicted. So was that an actual increase?
There's 200 more than we predicted there would be.
Yes, but is it an increase actually year over year in terms of how many we actually had? Sorry, to clarify.
I don't understand the question.
So to that question, we will not have that finalized until October 31st, because those are the actual numbers. So we'll have a better idea, because even between now and October 31st, it could fluctuate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. So, and finally, I just wanted to conclude my comments tonight with our finance department. And the reason why I bring it up is because it's not often we receive specific accolades when it comes to at a provincial level. And I just wanted to highlight, though, that Jody Levi, one of our staff in the finance department, has received significant praise in terms of her work in implementing the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan. So I just wanted to highlight this for you. So what Jody does, she works diligently in trying to ensure that anybody who's requiring a pension through the Ontario Teachers Plan in our board works through that process. And so out of 72 boards, and this is, they're looking at the quality of the work that was completed. She was ranked second amongst 72 boards. And then she also ranked second in what we call IPS, and I'm going to ask to, again, that's the boards that use the IPS system. And she came second in that regard. And then finally, she was recognized as being first in terms of quality among 16 medium-sized boards. So we're just really, really pleased with the effort that obviously she's being recognized for. But also, again, it's just, we feel really heartened by the fact that our staff are putting in such great work and are being recognized for it. So I just wanted to share that. It's not that often that we get an opportunity to share that. So hats off to the finance department and specifically to Jody. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The OBSPA delegate, Trustee Clement, do you have anything?
This weekend, I gotta talk to the machine here. Oh, lost my doohickey. Yeah, I got it. This weekend, I'm heading to Toronto for a director's meeting. They requested some information, which I thought was a little bit short notice, but our staff came up with some great numbers. Then the weekend after, October 4th, I'm heading to Thunder Bay for the Northern Ontario directors meeting. But nothing to report yet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our student trustee, Govro?
We had our first student senate meeting first week of September, and it went really well. And right now on Friday closes our application for new senators, so we're missing representatives from Lively, a First Nations representative, and from Barrydown College, so we're just looking to fill those positions. On the weekend, I had a conference for the working group for Ostaico, but I had strep throat, so I couldn't go, so I conference called in and just followed like the presentation that everything they sent me, so I was just like I was there. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to see you survived your first meeting. In fact, you look very good that you have survived it. Trustees' remarks or questions? Trustee Stringer?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to share a number of information items and a request, if you will allow me the time. There's a number of things I'd like to share. First of all, how one organization is having a huge impact on our environment and our students. This is a big thank you to Manitoulin Streams, who recently I had the pleasure of writing a testimonial for regarding the micro hatchery project at Little Current Public School. They had 19,000 eggs, brook trout and walleye eggs were received, and our students cared for and raised through the use of the micro hatchery in their classroom. And released approximately 16,000 fry, the young brook trout and walleye, into the waters on Manitoulin. Manitoulin Stream's support for the environment and their effective partnering with organizations from around the island is to be commended. The impact this project has had in developing environmental stewardship in our students and on increasing the fisheries has been extraordinary. So a big kudos to Manitoulin Streams. I'd also like to share that this month I had the great pleasure of attending 3 fall harvest celebrations. On September 9th, I brought greetings from the board as Central Manitoulin Public School celebrated their 107 years of their fair. The Ontario Agricultural Society has named it the last remaining agricultural school fair in the province, with its beginnings in 1912. This fair is truly a school and community tradition, with more than 100 categories for student entries. Staff at Central Manitoulin Public School collect entries throughout the school year, and the staff and 39 volunteers led by teacher Ellen Ferguson collect, judge, set up the events at the arena, and ensure that everything is in place for a successful fall fair. Categories include art, dog show, livestock judging, garden vegetables, baking, school work. It's an amazing event all around. And I'd also like to share that on September 6th, I attended Manitouwaning Fall Fair, which is hosted by the Manitouwaning Agricultural Society, and their theme was, "Have you eaten today? Thank a farmer." This community-based fair has been running for 143, get this, consecutive years. Our students from Signac Public School enter categories, although it's a community fair, a little different than Central Manitoulan. They enter categories such as pet show, calf show, and it's an amazing event. As well, I had the great opportunity to attend the 9th annual Fall Harvest hosted by Kenjigewanteg. And this is an event which our island schools attend, and it was a magnificent celebration with activities centered on living and breathing sustainable ways of being. Parents that were there in attendance that I was chatting with conveyed to me how great it was to see the level of student participants for this special event. Students had the opportunities for learning from community members, and there were tasting stations and Indigenous games and crafts, drum teaching, and much more. And my final item is a request. As we all know, this year marks Manitoulin Secondary School's 50th anniversary, and I think it would be a wonderful way to celebrate that anniversary by holding a board meeting at Manitoulin Secondary School. It would also give us an excellent opportunity to see firsthand the renovations, as well as a chance to pay tribute to our partners in education from Manitoulin. I hope you will consider this request. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Cosmerly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I, for one, would think it's an awesome idea if we have a board meeting on Manitoulin Island. I think it would pay tribute to the students and the teachers on Manitoulin that we support, because we tend to do everything more centralized in Sudbury, and this would honor and recognize them. And it would give us an awesome opportunity to see Manitoulin Secondary School and what it has to offer. So I really hope that we do move forward with this. And I thank Trustee Springer for bringing this up.
Thank you very much, and we'll certainly talk about it at the Executive Council, if that's okay. And we'll come back to you. Trustee Morrison?
Just a couple quick things. I too am in support of that, so I look forward to us having a meeting there, hopefully when the driving weather is good. But I do support that, so thank you for bringing that forward, Margaret. Just a couple of quick things. One is, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, I'm assuming everybody's watching the news. One of our employee groups is now in a position, in a legal strike position. There's no indication that there will be a strike, but there are work to rule plans, and it's been in the media. That's all we know. That's what all of us would know, is our QP group is in a position to start work to rule activities starting Monday. And I just want to remind people that in Rainbow's case, QP represents our clean air custodians. You may see articles in provincial newspapers that are also talking about secretaries. Secretaries aren't represented by QP in Rainbow. It's OSSTF who represents secretaries. So when we're talking QP in our case, we're talking about our cleaning custodian staff. And as this is part of the collective bargaining process, they are in a position to start work to rule activities on Monday. And the maintenance staff. Thank you, Dennis. So those are all covered by QP. Thank you. And the second point I have is a question, through you, Madam Chair, to the Director or the Superintendent of Business. Any news yet on the JK-6 school in New Sudbury?
What I will tell you, though, is that there has been some indication that there are announcements that have been happening, and so not sure where we're in the queue, but I know of 2 boards that have just been recently received notification to move forward.
Thank you very much. Trustee St. Jean?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that I had an extremely exciting and engaging day traveling amongst the schools that are in Area 1. It was 6 schools in 6 hours, and had an opportunity to interact with the principals, vice principals, support staff, classroom teachers, and the students themselves. It was really a thrilling opportunity, and I really appreciate having it and having a chance to interact with everybody and see the facility, see the amazing programs, the different types of equipment and classroom setups, and some very innovative classrooms that I hadn't imagined as far as arrangements with, well, the 21st century classrooms I was able to engage in. I was aware of those, but no, just some of the classroom environments were very comfortable and warm and welcoming, and it's interesting to see a bit of a deviation from the traditional row seating, students behind a desk facing a blackboard kind of atmosphere. So no, it was a wonderful day, and it was a lot to take in 6 hours, but we achieved the goal, and I look forward to future visits.
Thank you very much. Brendan Matouche, a grade 12 student who we've all met and seen and experienced his creations. He is from Llewellyn Park Secondary School, and he is one of 45 Science Fair finalists to represent Canada at the Millset Expo Science International Exhibit in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, from September 22nd to the 28th. So he's there. Brendan will join some 2,000 young scientists from over 50 countries to showcase innovative projects in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Isn't that wonderful? Wonderful opportunity for him. Circle your calendars. This coming Friday, September 27th, first of all, I want you to know that there will be no school for students, but there is for staff, as staff attend Professional Activity Day. Rainbow students and staff are invited to wear orange on Monday, September 30th, to show support for residential school survivors. Orange Shirt Day recognizes the effects and intergenerational impacts of the residential school system on First Nations, Métis, and Inuit children in Canada. September 30th, Orange Shirt Day, was the time of year in which children were taken from their homes to attend residential schools. Yes, that's orange. Okay. Good to know. The Joan Mantle Music Trust Steering Committee will host a media event on Wednesday, October the 9th at 10 a.m. at Sudbury Secondary School's Sheridan Auditorium to provide an update to the community. Also on Wednesday, October the 9th, but at 6 p.m., secondary students are invited to start planning their post-secondary journey during a university information program session at Lockerbie Composite School. This fair-style event will bring together representatives from all 21 of Ontario's universities. So it's a good opportunity for these young people. A summit to discuss youth mental health will take place on Thursday, October the 10th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Collège Boréal. Students from Rainbow Schools will participate in Headstrong, an evidence-based anti-stigma initiative aimed at inspiring students to be brave, reach out, and speak up about mental health. Rainbow Schools will participate in Eat Local Day on Wednesday, October the 16th as Rainbow District School Board continues to focus on education for sustainable development. Operated by Chartwell Secondary School cafeterias, they will feature a special menu made with local ingredients. And the next item, we have a poster that I'd like to share with you. And this is to let you know about an event where parents and guardians are invited to a viewing of Screenagers, a documentary about growing up in the digital age, on Tuesday, October 29th. I'd like to add grandparents to that list of people that should maybe take advantage of seeing that. It is on at 7 p.m. in Sudbury Secondary School Sheridan Auditorium, and Marcus Schwabe, the host of Morning North, CBC Sudbury, will moderate a discussion following the screening. September and early October, students in Rainbow schools have been and continue to put their feet to the pavement in support of the Terry Fox Foundation. Please take a moment and check the board website for the schedule of schools hosting a run or a walk. There are quite a few of them from now and into October. We may not like it, but winter will soon be upon us, so everyone is encouraged to drop off gently used winter clothing at any Rainbow elementary and secondary school for the winter clothing drive powered by Cooper Equipment Rentals. And this continues through till November the 4th, I believe it is. So you have lots of time, and we'll try to keep reminding you, because I know I have some, and I've walked by the pile several times. So yes, they really are needing. The thought for the month aligns, the thought for this month aligns with our declaring a climate change emergency. And it comes from Chief Seattle, a 19th century Native American who was committed to ecological responsibility. Imagine, 19th century. The city of Seattle, Washington was named after him. And he said, "We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children." Borrowing means returning. I truly believe we owe it to our children to do all we can to return what we borrowed in good condition. And I thank everybody for your support. Just a quick minute, take a look at the, there's reports, non-staff communications, and future meetings on the agenda. And I'd like you to take a quick look at the future meetings and double check to make sure we've got the right time, place, date. Thank you very much. That we do now adjourn. Moved by Trustee St. Jean, seconded by Trustee Govro. Well, yeah, Trustee Morrison. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.